UFC 319 is officially over. Khamzat Chimaev is your new UFC middleweight champion. He completely dominated Dricus Du Plessis. And now it's time to figure out what's next. Who's the next contender for Khamzat Chimaev? Is it the winner of Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho? Is it Reinier de Ridder? Some people are saying Anthony Hernandez, which I don't hate. But in this video, we're going to talk about what's next for Khamzat Chimaev, and then we're going to matchmake the rest of the UFC middleweight division. So be sure to like, comment what you think is next in the middleweight division, who should face Khamzat Chimaev next, and subscribe for more content like this. Now let's get into it. So Khamzat Chimaev completely dominates Dricus Du Plessis, makes it a boring fight. And the only reason why it was a boring fight was because Khamzat Chimaev literally toyed with DDP the entire fight. Dricus had no answer for anything and literally couldn't compete with Khamzat, which made it a one-sided fight. Khamzat Chimaev is your new UFC middleweight champion, which leads to what's next for Khamzat. What do we want to see next from him? And I would like to see him defend the belt at least 2 or 3 times in the division before we see him move up. And I know a lot of people are saying, why are we always talking about people moving up in the division or moving down? And the reality is, that's just where the UFC is now. We're not going to get fighters like John Jones or Demetrius Johnson or even GSP where they stay in one division and then just defend the belt in only that division. We've seen it before, and we're going to see it again, where fighters, they want the money fights, they want the bigger fights, and the only way to do that is to move up or down in weight to attract people, to attract that second belt, and have the possibility of, could he become a 2-division champion? And I think with Khamzat Chimaev's first title defense in the middleweight division, I think it's only right that we go to Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho, the winner of that. Nasruddin Imavov is on a great win streak, a 4-fight win streak, where he has beaten Roman Dolidze, Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, and Israel Adesanya. And I think with a 5th fighter to that win streak, Caio Borralho, I think he has earned his chance to get to the title. I think it would be a great fight for Nasruddin Imavov. I don't think he would do a better job than Dricus Du Plessis, but that's not the point. The point is, he's the #1 ranked middleweight fighter. He's earned his chance to the title. We can't just look at Nasruddin Imavov and say, well, you're not going to put up a fight against Khamzat, so you're not deserving of that. I don't think that's true. I think when you look at Caio Borralho and Nasruddin Imavov, they are both deserving on whoever wins that fight is next for the belt. Caio Borralho is undefeated in the UFC right now. He's coming off that Jared Cannonier win where it was a completely one-sided fight, unanimous decision win back in August of 2024. So if he beats Nasruddin Imavov, or if Nasruddin Imavov wins, they should fight Khamzat Chimaev next, and I think that is a great fight regardless of who wins. I would still pick Khamzat Chimaev to win, but it's not picking who's going to beat Khamzat Chimaev, who has the best chance at beating Khamzat. No, it's who is worthy for the belt right now, who has the best case on why they deserve to possibly be a champion. And I think when you look at Nasruddin Imavov or Caio Borralho, they, answer that question. The third person that a lot of people are talking about is Reinier de Ridder. Although, yes, he's 21-2, undefeated in the UFC, is coming off that great Robert Whittaker win. I don't think he is right there just yet. Now, I think Reinier de Ridder is 1 fight away, but I definitely think he should wait. I would love to see Reinier de Ridder fight Dricus Du Plessis. I think that is a perfect matchup. We've seen the memes. We've seen the potential. If DDP beat Khamzat, we could see DDP versus RDR. What a great matchup. What good styles this would be. And I think it is true. I think for Reinier de Ridder, for him to prove to himself that he can fight for the belt, I think beating a former world champion, especially back-to-back fights, beating Robert Whittaker and then beating DDP would solidify you in a championship fight to put you in that position. So with that being said, I would love to see Reinier de Ridder fight DDP next. I think it works out perfectly in the timing situation. You do this early in 2026. You could really do Reiner de Ridder versus DDP at the beginning of the year to set off, if you really believe in Reiner de Ridder and believe in the hype behind him, this is your next potential star you could put behind in the beginning of the year for Paramount. Lastly, a lot of people are talking about Anthony Hernandez, which I don't hate. I actually like Anthony Hernandez. I think he's a good fighter. He shows his overall skills, the striking, the grappling. He can win a decision. He has good cardio. He's tough. However, I do think he is a couple of fights away from fighting for the belt. He's in that stage where Nasruddin Imavov and RDR was a couple of fights ago, where he's got good wins. He's on a good win streak, but he just beat Roman Dolidze. The fight before that, he beat Brendan Allen. He needs to now look for a fight in the top 5 division to kind of put himself in that situation. And with that being said, I think a great fight for Anthony Hernandez would be Sean Strickland. I like Israel Adesanya. I saw a lot of people talking about they would love to see Israel Adesanya versus Anthony Hernandez. I think Izzy should fight Michael Venom Page. I think that would be a fun striking fight for Israel Adesanya and for MVP. And I think we're seeing the tail end of Israel Adesanya's career, so I don't want to see Izzy fight Anthony Hernandez, who's about to fight for the belt, in a couple of fights. I don't want to see that. Izzy's done fighting for the belt. He won't ever be a champion again. He just won't. He's just too old. People have figured out his game. He's just not the fighter he once was. And that's okay. But if I had a matchmake, I would say let's do Israel Adesanya versus MVP, Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez, because Sean Strickland is currently ranked number 2 in the middleweight division. After tomorrow, it could change. And I think that would be a great bump up for Anthony Hernandez if he beats Sean Strickland, former champion, that puts him in the top 5, and then he could compete in the, title picture. Let's say they don't want to do Anthony Hernandez versus Sean Strickland. Let's say they're trying to do Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya because for some reason Israel Adesanya has to have that fight back, the Sean Strickland fight. I think what you could do is Paulo Costa versus Anthony Hernandez. Although, yes, Paulo Costa is down in the rankings, I think it's a good fight for Anthony Hernandez. I know it's not a top 5 fight, and I'm contradicting what I just said, but I think the name value is still good enough where you beat someone like a Brendan Allen and then a Roman Dolidze, then a Paulo Costa. No matter what, you're fighting a number 1 contender next if you have back-to-back wins like that. So Nasruddin Imavov or Caio Borralho, the winner of that faces Khamzat Chimaev next, maybe around February, March of 2026. I don't think Khamzat's going to fight anymore the rest of this year, so you're going to look at early of next year. Then I think the next fight under that, you should look at DDP versus Reiner de Ridder. Great fight. Good matchup. Then Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. Fun matchup. Then you could look at Israel Adesanya versus MVP. And then maybe you could toy in there Robert Whittaker fights Brendan Allen. You could do Marvin Vettori versus maybe Roman Kopylov. I don't know. The rest of the division after 7 or 8 is kind of weird, but that's my matchmaking. I think the winner of Imavov or Caio Borralho is rightfully next for Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat Chimaev honestly defends his belt 2 or 3 times. As I'm looking at the rankings right now, the only person I think could compete with Khamzat Chimaev is Reiner de Ridder. A lot of people are throwing him off like, well, his grappling's not that good. I think he is pretty good on the ground. And his knees to the body. I think someone who is trying to take you down, if you throw a knee to the body, that's a great way to defend or help deflect some takedowns. And I think Reiner de Ridder has the skills on the grappling or in the grappling department to at least prevent some threats from Khamzat Chimaev compared to DDP, where DDP is laying flat on his back, getting stuck in 5 crucifixes. I don't think Imavov or Caio Borralho really has a big chance. I think they're big, striking, heavy fighters. However, I think RDR or Anthony Hernandez has a better chance than the top 5 right now. But that doesn't mean anything. Anything could happen. I still think no matter what, though, the number 1 contender is Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Whoever wins that fights Khamzat Chimaev next, and that's who I think will face Khamzat next. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video.